Boom. Is that better? Hey, Michael Bonner, who's in the room, I think, or was, maybe not. Okay. Hello. Okay. Hey, Michael. Thank you. Yeah, I want to see here. Yeah, look, just because I'm looking at Michael Bonner doesn't mean that you are, right? Nick, you see something, you don't see that exact thing on your screen. All right, cool. Good. Thank you. Thank you so much, Nick. I need all the help I can get, obviously. Okay. I'm still going to pin me to the top if I can, just because I like to see if I'm on the screen or not. Okay, and I'm also going to share my screen. But let me keep going with that whole introduction. So I want you to be thinking about, I want you to be thinking about, is Descartes more like Heraclitus or Parmenides? And is Nietzsche more like Heraclitus and Parmenides? And they're opposites, okay? Second thing I wanted to say is that you will have a quiz on Wednesday. I uploaded it on Zoom today. It'll go live at 4 o'clock. On Wednesday, you'll have 20 minutes to finish it. Just same drill as last time, okay? It will be on Descartes. It will be on Descartes. And you will need to listen closely to today's lecture, okay? Yeah. Yeah, Zoom. I mean, sorry, Canvas. Canvas, yes. And I'm actually going to get out my MacBook just to make sure that I cover the contents of the quiz in today's lecture. Yeah. Okay. Any questions, comments? What's it over, Michael? Descartes. Let me hear you say Descartes. Good. No. Well, I don't know yet. The answer is I don't know yet. I reserve the right to give you a fourth quiz. And if I do that, I'll drop the lowest grade. Right now, yeah, that's all I'm going to say. If I say you're not going to have another quiz, you might not come to class. Although there is the final exam, so boom. Okay. Okay. One moment. All right. Oh, what? Oh. So Michael, thanks for asking that though. Okay. Good. Okay, y'all. Let me pull up the lecture notebook on Canvas, which I did update for this class. By the way, this class should be recording onto the cloud, which means that I will upload it to my YouTube channel later. I was not able to do that last time on Wednesday of last week. I think I forgot to check mark the record onto the cloud box, I think. But I did that today. So you should be able to watch this later if you want. Oh, and here's the Nietzsche thing, right? This is our text that we're going to discuss for Nietzsche. Probably some of you already read it because you probably wrote your paper on it, but it's called the Dionysiac Worldview, the Dionysiac Worldview, okay? But today we're going to finish up Descartes, okay? All right, here we go. Review from last time. Oh, I already did this. Is Descartes more like Heraclitus or Parmenides, and why? Here we anticipate Nietzsche, okay? But they're different. Descartes agrees with one of them, or agrees. His posture. Look, what's the main difference? What's the main difference between Heraclitus and Parmenides? Here's what it is. One of them It's Aristotle's metaphysical spectrum, okay? I'll keep this very brief. Am I on the screen right now? Okay, good. I'll keep this very brief. This is Aristotle's metaphysical spectrum. What's on this side? Good, matter. Now there's other stuff too. Like there's an acorn, there's the phrase potentiality or potential. There's other stuff. I think I may have written Genesis 1:2 up here. Why? Because that's the verse that says, and the earth was formless and void. So there's other stuff too, but for now, yes, let's say matter. And what's on this side? Form, that's right. Aristotle uses the phrase prime matter, and then I use the phrase, because actually so does Aristotle, pure form, okay? Now, here's the question. Heraclitus is on which side? Who can raise your hand and tell me? I forgot your name, I'm so bad. I'm a terrible human being. Gabrielle, forgive me. Which side is Heraclitus on? Right, now tell me why. You're so right. Can you say anything about why? Flux, all is flux. Do you remember the little analogy / metaphor that Peter Adamson uses? I think it's a bottle of vinaigrette salad dressing, right? Think about a bottle of vinaigrette salad dressing. Think about all the like stuff floating around in there after you shake it up, right? The olive bits and the oil and the whatever else is in there, sesame seeds, I have no idea. But it's a big mess. It's like a swirling vortex. Are you with me? That's matter. There's clearly matter there, but the question is there form? Like if you're looking at the swirling vortex, and also this is where I think about the static on the 1970s television screen, like when I was a little kid. It's just like flickers everywhere. Can you discern any shapes? Can you see a triangle anywhere in the swirling vortex of the salad dressing? No. So it's devoid of form. See, when Heraclitus says that all is flux, or that the world is like a vinaigrette salad dressing that's just swirling around, there's no form there. Does that make sense? So it's not on this end of the spectrum, it's on this end of the spectrum. Matter, not form. Okay, now think about Parmenides. Parmenides says, wackanon being. He says, don't talk to me about finite being. There's lots of different kinds of finite being. Parmenides says, being is not this, it's not that, it's not this, it's not that. Being is not finite. It's not finite in this way. 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 I hope that you can see how those are double negatives. Because if something's finite, it's already limited. It's already negated. Because what is a finis or a fin in Spanish? It's an end. This marker is limited. Why? Did you hear that? Limited? This marker is finite. Why? Because it doesn't stretch on for infinity. No. There's an end right here. See it? It's chopped off. There's an end right here. It's chopped off. The marker's finite. The marker's already limited. It's already negated. So if Parmenides says that being is not limited in this way, this way, this way, or this way, that's a double negation. That's kind of crazy. That means that Parmenides is saying that being is not limited, not finite. In other words, being is what? Infinite. Doesn't that sound like what your Sunday school teacher told you in the second grade about God? Yes, it does. That's not a coincidence. Okay? Now, okay. Back to Parmenides. Wackanon being. Don't talk to me about any kind of finite being like matter. Wackanon being. Is Parmenides on this side or that side? Right. Who can tell me why? Can you tell me, Rachel? Just say something, whatever you think. Why would you put Parmenides on the side of pure form and not prime matter? Okay, yes, I like that. Because definition is a sort of like a mental construct. It's not something you can touch. Can you touch a definition? No. You can touch a page of a dictionary if it's a print book like the one I showed you in my office. You can touch ink on a page, but that's ink on a page. You cannot touch a definition. I like that. Can you touch matter? Yes, but Parmenides is talking about the definition. Did you say definition? Is that what you said? Yeah, that's good. A definition is not material. It's not something you can touch. That suggests that maybe we would put Parmenides on this side. I like it. Maybe you were thinking of some, does anyone want to add to that? Does anyone have anything else? Why would you put Parmenides, Jagger, on the side of pure form and not prime matter? Good. I like it. I like it. Good. So Parmenides is over here. And so the question is, oops. What? Yes. Yeah, good. I like it. Good. So the question is, does Descartes go over here or over here? And then the other question is, does Nietzsche go over here, over here? Now, Nick, are you going to try to answer the question right now? Well, then I don't want you to say anything, but I still like you. And then right behind Nick, I forgot your name. I'm so sorry. Oh, I'm so dumb. It's because the mask. I'm going to blame it on the mask. Talk to me. Were you going to try to answer the question? Oh, well, then don't say anything. Okay. Now, did I see someone else's hand? Was there some other hand that shot up? Okay, Sergio. Well, great point. That's a great point. That's a great point. I would just say that form, and now I'm going to speak like a crazy, weird philosopher, form as such is not limited or not necessarily limited. It's possibly not limited in this way, this way, this way, or this way. Maybe. That's all I got right now. But that's a great point. That'd be a great paper topic. Maybe I'm wrong. Well, okay, good. It's not limited according to Parmenides. And I interrupted you. Say that again. No, I'm just saying, my opinion, like, from my perspective, it's very hard to say something that doesn't have form is defined. So the opposite of it. No, I like that a lot. I like that a lot. Yeah, I would just say that I would suggest that if I were Parmenides, maybe my response would be, well, form does not, I think Parmenides would have to say something like, form does not consist of parts and wholes. Now that's a weird claim. You might want to push back on that. But maybe he would say it doesn't consist of literal parts and wholes. Right, but matter is finite in another way. Guess what it is? Spatial extension. Remember that Aristotle, the one thing he says about prime matter is that it is spatially extended. That necessarily means it's finite. Yeah. No, well, I covered that in the class already. I mean, philosophy's hard, no problem. So why is spatial extension necessarily finite? What Parmenides and Aristotle would say is it's because it can be chopped up. And the moment you chop it up, there's multiplicity. But the moment you chop it up because you put form. So it's still finite. It's not finite if you don't put form. It is finite because the moment you chop it up, you have two parts, part A and part B. Part A is not part B, whacking on B. There is no rule that you can't impose form on matter. The point is spatial extension for someone like Parmenides and Aristotle necessarily implies finite being, which is why your Baptist Sunday school teacher said God is immaterial. God does not have a body. And by the way, your Sunday school teacher wasn't smart enough to think all this through. No. Your Sunday school teacher received this thought by way of tradition. And by the way, there's also Bible verses that talk this way. It's all good. It's all good. Yeah, I'll move on. But no, it's all good. I like talking and stuff. All right, but I'm going to move on. Okay, y'all, let's talk about Descartes. Are we reading Discourse on Method? No, we're reading Meditations on First Philosophy. I'm going to go crazy and use the doc cam if I can, because I think that'll show up on Zoom. Oh, maybe I have to turn it on? Okay. Nick, are you still on Zoom? Yeah. Cool. Can you see that? Yeah, it's on your smaller camera. Right. Oh. Oh, that sucks. That's very complicated. Makes my brain hurt. I don't think I'm on share screen right now, am I? Oh, yes, I am. Stop share. Is that better? Yeah. All right, cool. No. Can you zoom out? I don't know. Maybe I don't know. Are we reading Discourse on Method? No, we're reading Meditations on First Philosophy. Okay. I don't like the doc cam. Sorry? Oh. Yeah, I don't know. Thank you. Okay, y'all, back. I don't like the doc cam. It's too complicated. Okay. Back to this. The dedicatory, so look, I want to talk about the dedicatory letter, the preface to the reader, and then the synopsis of the 6 meditations. And then we're going to do this quick. We're not coming back to Descartes tomorrow, next time. Next time, we're going to start with Nietzsche. And the main thing we're going to do with Nietzsche is watch a documentary and then talk about the text, the Dionysiac worldview, okay? But I'm done with Descartes after this. I'm kind of sick of him. Okay. We're going to talk about the dedicatory letter, the preface to the reader, and the synopsis of the 6 meditations. You will have a quiz on this stuff on Wednesday, okay? The dedicatory letter, who is it written to? That's right. It's written to the theologians, or the faculty of what? The faculty of what? Who can tell me? The faculty of geometry? The faculty of molecular biology? Nick. The faculty of theology. That's right. It's written to them. Now, why would he need the approval of the theologians? Well, just to keep it real brief, I mean, Descartes writing in the 17th century, the 17th century, the 1600s, and it was still a very Christian world. Now, is it a Christian world today? Well, we could debate about that. A lot of people would say yes. I would probably say no, or maybe not as much as it was 50 years ago. I don't know. But it was definitely a Christian world back then, especially in Europe. And he needed the approval of the theologians in order not to be marginalized as some sort of a crazy heretic, okay? Now, the only thing I want to talk about in terms of the text itself, the dedicatory letter, is that Descartes states that God can be proven by natural reason. Yeah, that is on my page. That is on my page 47, but more importantly, it's at marginal note 2. Remember, a lot of times when you're talking about really old books and texts and stuff like that, it's especially when they're not written in English, when they're translated, it's helpful to not talk about page numbers because like you might have a different translation. So it's helpful to talk about marginal numbers. We saw that with Plato, remember? It's the same here. So this is more important for primary texts than secondary texts, basically. But marginal note 2, maybe halfway down-ish, he uses this phrase, natural reason. And he literally says, quote, one can prove the existence of God by natural reason, okay? Now, the main thing I want to talk about is, what is natural reason? And really, natural reason as opposed to what? What in the world is natural reason? And natural reason as opposed to what? Anyone have any thoughts about that? Someone raise your hand and, yes, ma'am? Oh, good guess. You're saying wait, what are you saying? Are you saying that natural reason is common sense? Okay, I like that, but no. Any other guesses? You're awesome, Rachel. Any other guesses? Any other thoughts? Yes, ma'am. What is your name? Ashley. Yes. Something besides what? Okay. Okay. I like what you're saying, but the question is, what is natural reason? And even more specifically, natural reason as opposed to what? Like if I were to say, hey, y'all, what is a triangle? A good place to start might be a triangle is not a what? Circle, a rectangle, pick some shape. So also here, natural reason is not what, Jagger? According to Descartes, that's true. But y'all, I want to make a point about natural reason, and what I want to say is that the opposite of natural reason is, it's very specific. The opposite of natural reason is revelation. What is revelation? Okay, who can, so it's revelation versus natural reason. Ashley.
So does that mean that natural reason is something, is your knowledge before you actually find out the truth about something?
Okay, so let's think about this word revelation. What's the root word of it? Reveal. I like that. Reveal. Reveal. So something's being revealed. Who do you think might be doing the revealing in this case? Sergio?
Something or someone abnormal.
Abnormal? Yeah. I like that. I like that. I like that. So the answer is God. Revelation is like the Bible. Revelation is God telling us stuff. Now, do I think that that's actually true? Who cares? I don't want you to know what I don't want you to. It doesn't matter what I think. What matters is what Descartes thinks. Sorry, that was loud. What matters is what these philosophers think, and what they think, and what the tradition thinks. The tradition of Western philosophy. That's what this class is about. And what the tradition thinks is that God has somehow revealed things to us. What has God revealed to us, according to people like Descartes? Well, the notion that God is 3 in 1, Father, Son, and Holy Spirit. The notion that God became man, right? The Logos, the Word became flesh and dwelt among us. We talked about that, right? John 1:1, John 1. What is the Greek word for word? Anyone remember? It's the opposite of mythos. Mythos and logos. John says the Logos became flesh and dwelt among us. Well, this is revelation. Who's doing the revealing? God. Who is it being revealed to? Us. That's right. The Bible would be an example, but it's not the only example. The incarnation itself, Jesus Christ, the divine Logos, would be another example of revelation. Many people have said, in fact, most people say that creation itself is revelation, that creation itself, mountains, sunsets, the beauty of the human body, rivers, molecular organisms, that all of this tells us something about God. It's not just natural, which is what Aristotle thought. I mean, it's not neutral, is what I meant to say. So what is revelation? Well, the Bible, check. The incarnation itself, God becoming man, check. But also creation. Creation has been seen as a book of signs that tells us about God. That phrase, book of signs, is very Bonaventure, very Bonaventure. You see, that's revelation. Are you with me? And again, do I require that you believe that the Bible actually tells us stuff about God? No. This is a philosophy class at a secular university. But what I insist that you understand is that the tradition thought that, because this affects the history of ideas. And if we had more time, I think that I could prove to you or convince you that if it weren't for things like the notion of revelation, guess what? You would not believe in human rights. Do you believe in human rights? Hell yeah, you do. It's what our entire culture is premised on. Mainly for, I mean, I'll say for better and for worse, mainly better, in my view. But you wouldn't, human rights depends on certain theological notions that come from Judaism, Christianity, Islam. And what I'm suggesting is, if you don't believe that revelation's a thing, well, you might ask yourself, why do I believe in human rights? Nietzsche didn't. All right, the point is, revelation is God telling us stuff. The opposite of revelation is natural reason. What is natural reason? Natural reason is what the human mind, unaided by revelation, can discover on its own. So do we need God to tell us that a triangle has 180 degrees, yes or no? I don't think so. Is there a Bible verse that says, in the beginning, God decreed that a triangle shall have, no. That's a matter of natural reason. Okay? And what Descartes is saying is that in his view, and who is he saying it to? The theologians. He's speaking their language. Maybe he's kissing their ass because he wants their approval, maybe. That's kind of what I think. But he's saying that God can be proven by natural reason, that we don't need the Bible to tell us about God. Okay? What I want you to know, though, is that natural reason is the opposite of revelation. Okay? That could be on a final exam. And y'all, I can't resist the temptation. Before we move on, I just want to give you a quick example. I want to give you a quick example of the distinction between natural reason on the one hand and revelation on the other, okay? So maybe you've heard of well, all right. My example is this: virtues. Traditionally, people, including people like Thomas Aquinas and C.S. Lewis, talk about the cardinal virtues, and the, what is this word? Guess again. Theological. The cardinal virtues and the theological virtues. Now, the cardinal virtues are discoverable by natural reason alone. We don't need God to tell us about the cardinal virtues. That word cardinal comes from a Latin word that means hinge, like the hinge of a door. The hinge of a door swings open and shut, that's a hinge. In Latin, it's like a cardinus. I don't remember right now. The word cardinal comes from a Latin word that means hinge, and the idea is that the human life hinges on these virtues. What is a virtue? It's kind of like a value. I don't like the word value very much. A virtue is like this, it's like strength of character, okay? And the idea is that you don't need the Bible to tell you what the cardinal virtues are. Now, what are the cardinal virtues? Aristotle says that there's 4 of them. And also C.S. Lewis talks about this in his book, Mere Christianity. The cardinal virtues are courage, moderation. Moderation is, I think that this Friday, I'm not going to drink like 12 beers, but guess what? I'm not going to drink 0 beers either. I think I'll have 2. That would be moderation, okay? I'm not going to eat 3 cheesecakes, but I'm also not going to eat 0 dessert. I think I'll have 1 slice of cheesecake. That would be moderation. And it's one of the cardinal virtues. And the idea is that you don't need God to tell you about that. It's discoverable by what? Natural reason. So you've got courage, moderation, prudence. Let me hear you say prudence. Prudence is the idea, it's like identifying a goal and then asking the question, how am I going to get there? So let's say you want to be a doctor. Let's say you want to be a cardiologist. Okay, how are you going to get there? Well, you're probably going to need to go to med school. That's a thing. How am I going to get to med school? Well, you probably need to be a pre-med major. How are you going to get there? How are you going to get there? That's prudence, okay? And the idea is that you don't need God to tell you about prudence. It's discoverable by natural reason alone. Courage, moderation, prudence, and justice. Justice. These are the 4 cardinal virtues, okay? Now, the 3 theological virtues are faith, hope, and love. Faith, hope, and love. And the idea is that actually we know what these things are, faith, hope, and love, because God has revealed it to us. That's just an example. It's an example of the distinction between natural reason on the one hand and revelation on the other, okay? And what Descartes is saying is that God can be proven by natural reason. Okay? Sergio. No, forget about the spectrum. That's irrelevant here. Maybe, but I don't want to go there right now. No, yeah, sorry. I should have erased the spectrum. Cool, thank you for that clarification. This is an example of the distinction between natural reason on the one hand and revelation on the other. Yes, Nick. Descartes doesn't talk about the theological virtues very much in this text. He says we reach God by natural reason alone, which is kind of crazy, but a lot of people have thought that. And the Catholic Church teaches that dogmatically, that the human mind can know about God without revelation, which is why I taught y'all Aristotle. Anyway, we won't go there. Yes, ma'am. Okay. I mean, it is similar, but I I don't want to talk about common sense in this lecture just because it's look, you're probably onto something there. The difficulty with common sense is, what is it?
I just consider it being something that is like it's inherently known. Like,
Except not everyone agrees. I mean, for some people, it might be common sense that if you're born with a Y chromosome, you're a male. For other people, it might be common sense that that's not the case. And I'm not espousing relativism right now. Say it again. Yeah.
But with that, it's like so common sense can basically argue on both sides. Whereas
It's hard to achieve
you can't really argue human reason.
Yeah.
You can't argue common sense.
I like that. I like that. I like that. Yes. Cool. Good. Okay, y'all, let's move on. So we talked a little bit about the dedicatory letter, which is addressed to whom? The theologians or the faculty of theology. Now let's go to the preface to the reader. And what's cool about this is that you remember how I've been stressing the reflexive thing, right? The reflexive thing is something that Aristotle emphasizes. Who can remind me of how he words or talks about the reflexive thing? Can anyone? Let me ask it to you like this. So remember how both Aristotle and Descartes talk about metaphysics. It's even in Descartes' title to this work that we're studying. Aristotle also wrote a work, we've talked about it a lot, that we now call metaphysics. Okay, so that's a similarity between Aristotle on the one hand and Descartes on the other. And what's crazy is that in both works on metaphysics, they appeal to what I call the reflexive thing. Because what is Aristotle talking about in his metaphysics? At one point, he calls his metaphysics first philosophy. This is the kind of stuff that will be on the final exam, by the way. At one point, he refers to it as first philosophy. He also refers to it as something else. How else does he refer to it? Nick. That's right. He calls it theology, and theology is about what? God. See, for Aristotle, God is the reflexive thing. Because what are the names for God, according to Aristotle? Yeah, Nick. That's it, thought thinking itself. And can you see how that's reflexive? It's like the snake eating its tail. It's not thought thinking about a cup or thought thinking about a friend. It's thought thinking itself. We talked about reflexivity. See, in transitive verbs, you've got a subject, that's me, and you've got an object, the marker. If Matt flicks the marker, Matt is the subject, the marker is the what? Object. It's a transitive verb. But if we say that Matt flicks himself, what's the subject? What's the subject? Matt. What's the object? Matt. That's reflexive. Matt is both subject and object. If we say that the dog licks itself, or the keys got lost on me, se me perdieron los llaves. Las llaves. That's reflexive. What is the thing that did the losing? The keys. And what is the thing that got lost? The keys. That's reflexive. So for Aristotle, his metaphysics is about God, and one of his names for God is thought thinking itself. That's recursive. Thought thinking about itself. You see that? Now, Descartes also has a reflexive thing. But what's crazy is that it's no longer God, it's now what? Man, the human being, us. That's right, Sarah. So he talks about it real clearly in the preface to the reader. It's on my page 3. It's on my page 3. No, it's not. It's on my page. It's on my page 51, but more importantly, marginal number 8. Marginal number 8 in the preface to the reader. Marginal number 8. Would someone like to read it? Beginning it's the third full paragraph in the preface to the reader at marginal number 8. Would someone like to read that? The first sentence of that paragraph? Jacob, do you have it?
The first is that from the fact that the human mind, when turned in on itself.
Stop. Did you hear that? The human mind, when what? Turned in on itself. Can you see how that's reflexive? He says it over and over and over again, but that's just one example. What is the reflexive thing for Descartes? It's not God, it's mind. It's cogito. Cogito ergo sum. I think, therefore I am. It's mind thinking about mind. Remember the doubting? Remember the journey of doubt that we talked about last time, the concentric circles? So first he doubts external objects like trees and frogs and chairs, but then he moves inward and he even doubts his fingers and his body parts. And then he keeps going inward and doubts like stuff inside of him, like stomach rumblings, right? Remember? It's a journey inward. Rocks, coffee cups, chairs, things outside of him. And then he doubts his own body. Remember, for Descartes, his anthropology is ghost in the machine. You are not your body, you are your mind. That's right. So the body for Descartes is just another object. First, he doubts objects on the outside of himself. Then he doubts his own body, fingers, kneecaps, toes. He keeps going in and doubts stuff that's even more internal to him, like stomach rumblings and maybe anxiety and fear. Would you agree with me that these are psychosomatic phenomena? Yeah. But he keeps going inward, and he starts doubting things like memories and imagination and fantasies. And he finally lands on something that he says, I cannot doubt that. Because even when I'm doubting, I'm what? Thinking. And so he says, I cannot doubt that I'm thinking. Because if I'm doubting it, then I'm thinking. Thought thinking itself, just like Aristotle, except that it's not now in the mind of God, it's in the mind of him, you, me, the human being. The grounding of metaphysics, the certainty, the foundation of human thought is now no longer, you don't need God for it anymore. Although Briseda had a good point. I can't wait to read your paper. For now, I'll say it's no longer in God, it's now in us. But it's still the reflexive thing. It's still thought thinking itself. He just calls it mind. I think, therefore I am. Okay? Am I making sense? Yeah. Note the reflexive thing, the human mind when turned in on itself. I hope that you can see that these words turned in on itself is like the reflexive thing, right? I mean, can you see how this picture, in this picture, the snake is turned in on itself? Ugh, I'm going to have nightmares. Ooh, this. Can you see how the snake is turned in on itself? Same thing, right? Now I can't make it go away. I literally can't make it go away. Ah, there we go. Okay. Yeah, dedicatory letter, check. Preface to the reader, check. Now we're going to go real briefly in 13 minutes or less. 13 minutes or more, but not much more. over the synopsis of the 6 meditations. These are just some highlights that jumped out to me and that I thought were interesting. And again, I mean, I approach my whole class with Heraclitus and Parmenides as kind of like the, I don't know, the initial pattern, and we see it here. So at marginal number 13, we're now past the dedicatory letter, past the preface. We're now in the synopsis of the 6 meditations. And remember how I encouraged you to skim, right? If you're going to skim the meditations on first philosophy, a great thing to do would be to read the synopsis on the 6 meditations. You know what I mean? And at marginal number 13, he says, quote, "We cannot understand the body to be anything other than what? Divisible." You realize what he's saying? He's saying that the body, it's just like what I said to Sergio a minute ago in terms of spatial extension. The moment you chop something up, there's different parts. And so part A, part B. Well, what would Parmenides say? Part A is not part B, whack a non-being, not. Are you with me? Now, does Descartes, so you realize that he's kind of just thrown the body under the bus. And Descartes defines the human person as what? Body? No, mind. Why? Well, it's starting to sound a lot like whom? Parmenides. He's saying body, meh. The body can't be our essence. Why? Because it's divisible. Parts and wholes. This is non-being for Parmenides. See, what I'm trying to suggest to you is that Descartes has a bias that's a lot like Parmenides' bias. In this same context, actually, look at this next one. He keeps going. The annihilation of the mind does not follow from the decaying of the body. This should also remind you of the greatest hits of this class, beginning with Parmenides and Heraclitus. Decay. Remember when we talked about the realm of fuchsias, the realm of change, that Plato, the realm of becoming, things growing and decaying, and how I was saying that that's like Heraclitus? Decay is change, flux. Heraclitus says that reality is what? Flux. Can you see how decay is a kind of flux? And Descartes is saying that what decays? What is it that decays? The body. But it doesn't follow from that the mind is annihilated. No. See, Descartes loves the mind. The body, it's disposable. It can be thrown in the trash can, or better yet, recycled. Recycled, a la Plato, the transmigration of the soul, aka reincarnation. Now, did Descartes believe in reincarnation? No, he didn't. But like Plato, he thinks that you're not your body. The body's disposable. It's not the real you. It's not your essence. Your essence is your mind. You are your mind. Are you seeing a pattern here? I'm suggesting to you that Descartes has this tendency to be kind of like Parmenides. Matter, decay. The body decays, but that doesn't mean that the mind is annihilated. Okay? Let's keep going. The human mind is, here again, same thing. He's saying the same thing in lots of different ways. He's saying body bad, mind good. Heraclitus would not like that. Heraclitus would not like that, because Heraclitus says that the only thing that's real is flux, which you should associate with matter. the salad dressing, the swirling vortex. Descartes throwing this under the bus and exalting this, the mind. The human mind is not composed of accidents. Should I try to tell you what the word accident means in philosophy? It doesn't mean like getting in a car crash or stubbing your toe. I got in an accident. No, no, no. An accident is like a property. I'll keep this really short because it's kind of boring, but it is important. So like the marker's round. Well, that's a bad example. The marker, my shirt is blue, right? Blue is not essential to a shirt. Gabrielle's shirt is not blue. Michael's shirt is not blue. The blueness of my shirt is an accident. It's a property. It's not essential. If you look up shirt in a philosophically airtight dictionary, are you going to read about the color blue? No. Why? It's because blue is an accident. It's not essential to what it means to be a shirt. So you might think of it as a property. One of the properties of my shirt is that it's blue. The human mind is not composed of properties or accidents. It's pure substance. Yeah. Substance is a lot like saying form. In fact, Aristotle wrote a little work called The Categories, and he says, let me tell you what substance is. It's form. Okay? So, what's the point? The point is that Descartes is a lot like whom? Parmenides. I would like two people to raise your hand and tell me how. How or why. How or why is Descartes like Parmenides? Yes. Yes. That's right. I like that. I like that. Yeah, good. Y'all know I had the second vaccine 5 weeks ago, right? I should still wear this, but I have to drink my kombucha. Good. Anyone else? Nick. That's right. That's a great way of saying it. That's a great way of saying it. I mean, Parmenides, I don't think explicitly talks about the human body, but he talks about matter, and he talks about stuff that changes. Does the human body change? Oh, to be your age again. Believe me, the human body changes. You know what I mean? Yes, it does. And Heraclitus says that's the only thing that's real is that kind of change. Parmenides says that's not real. The only thing that's real is being. And what is being? It's not this, it's not this, it's not this, it's not this. It's not finite, it's not limited. Essentially what he's saying is something like being is infinite. It's a lot like Aristotle's God, the unmoved mover. It's a lot like the Christian God and the Muslim God and the Jewish God. But the big idea of this class is that Descartes has a posture that's similar to Parmenides. It tends to be anti-material, anti-matter, anti-change, anti-finite being. Change, bad. Parts and wholes, bad. Even spatial extension, the only thing that Aristotle says about prime matter, bad. Cool?
So he would think that thought is indivisible?
He would think that what?
That thought can't be separated into parts?
Cannot be.
Yeah, cannot be separated into parts.
That's a good question. I mean, he doesn't, you're talking about Descartes, right? Yeah. Technically, he's not talking about thought he's talking about mind, but you're still onto something, Sergio. I don't know what he would say.
Because
He might say that. He probably would say that.
right, because if otherwise if it can be separated parts, then it can also decay, I guess.
Let me say this. Did we talk about Plato's line in this class? I don't think we did. Let me say this. There's lots of different kinds of thought. And so Descartes is kind of ambiguous on this point. What kind of thought are you talking about, Descartes? You say thought thinking itself. What kind of thought, Mr. Smarty Pants? And he leaves it ambiguous. But what if we were to say he's thinking about consciousness? What is consciousness? That's a different philosophy class. But maybe, like, I don't know, if I were to suggest to you that maybe consciousness is undivided or indivisible, or to use the word that I tried to teach y'all earlier, simple. What is simplicity? Simplicity is not spatially extended, not consisting of parts and wholes, not changing, not the other thing that I always forget. Simplicity. Consciousness. Is consciousness simple like that? Maybe he would say yes. Maybe that's a better way of thinking about it, because there's lots of different kinds of thought. Some people like me, and I'm not a big fan of Descartes, by the way, but some people like me think that human thought is impossible apart from language, that we cannot think without language. That's my view. And if that's true, that tends to suggest some divisibility, because it seems like language is something that can be divided, chopped into wholes. Subject predicates, words, letters, phonetic things like dentals, sibilants. Like, it seems like language is choppable, which would be an argument against Descartes. But I try to present him charitably. And so maybe if you were to think about consciousness, maybe that's a little, maybe it's a bit more plausible to think of consciousness as indivisible in that way and simple in that way. Yes, ma'am. Sarah. No. Ashley. Yes, thank you. Okay, y'all, anything else? I'm excited because we're going to move on to Nietzsche next class. Probably what will happen is that I will talk about Nietzsche, blah, blah, blah. I like to talk. But the goal is to watch a documentary. It's a documentary. I want to watch it together in the class. I'm not going to give it to you for homework. I am giving you the article, the Dionysian Worldview. Read that. It's on Canvas. That's your homework. The documentary we will watch together. Why? It's because it's because I'm going to need to hit the pause button and explain stuff to you. Okay? But that we will start Nietzsche on Wednesday, and we're done with Descartes. Thank God, in my mind. May the force be with you. This should be on my YouTube channel later today. Great. Hang on, Rachel. Give me 1 sec here, because I'm deaf and I want to hear you. Hang on.